Hey Sebbies, Mr. McConaughey here. I wanted to do a fairly quick review here before our quiz tomorrow. So here's a review of lessons 4.1 through 4.3. So the first thing that we want to just review in graphing and writing inequalities are what our inequality signs are, and then how we would graph them and represent if a particular number is included in the solution or not included in the solution. So let's take a look first at the signs. So we have greater than and less than. Okay, these signs, remember the open mouth of the alligator is going to eat the larger number. So depending on which side and what order we write these, make sure that you keep them straight. When we have a greater than or less than sign, we want to graph. Remember that we use the open circle. The open circle at the number means that the number itself is not included in the solution. And when I graph these here on the next page, we'll talk about that some more. Then finally, we also have greater than or equal. Greater than or equal, less than or equal. When we have these inequalities, we use a closed circle. Okay? The closed circle means that that number is included. So if we have something like x is less than or equal to 2, the number 2 is included in the solution and makes the inequality true. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we graph these. Okay, let's take a look at this first one. X is greater than 2. So I want you to do these graphs in a very particular order. If you do them the same way every time, you'll get into a rhythm and they'll become very easy. But you need to do the same thing in the same step every time. So when you see your inequality, x is greater than 2, the first thing I want you to do, draw your number line. Second thing to do, draw or mark off our number. So in this case, we have 2. Third thing, look and see what kind of inequality symbol we have. This is greater than. It's not greater than or equal to, it's just greater than. So is that an open circle or closed circle? It is an open circle. And third, decide which way our graph is going to point. So read the inequality again to yourself. X is greater than 2. I'm looking for numbers bigger than 2. What are numbers bigger than 2? We have to point to the right. Now let's check this. Okay? So we want to pick a number both to the right and to the left of our inequality. Let's go ahead and pick 0 first. Okay? And we put 0 and substitute it in for our variable. So let's try that. X is greater than 2. Is 0 greater than 2? Well, of course not. That's false. So that means that the number 0 is not included in our graph, which is good because we're pointed to the right. We haven't included 0. Let's just try a number to the right of 2. Let's say 4. So then we check, is 4 greater than 2? And of course that's true. So that means that yes, we are included the numbers to the right of 2. Now the open circle on 2 means that 2 is not included in the solution. Let's go ahead and just check that. Is 2 greater than 2? No, it is not. It is not greater than 2. So that's why we have the open circle. So it says that particular solution does not make our inequality true. Okay, let's do one more graph here, and we'll use where we have a equal to in our symbol. Okay, so let's take a look at x is less than or equal to 7. So let's go ahead and do the order of our graphing here. The first thing we do, draw our number line. Second thing we do, mark off our number, 7. Third thing we do, we look at the inequality. The inequality here is less than or equal. What does that mean? Open circle or closed circle? It means a closed circle. And then finally we read the inequality again to decide which way we're going to point. X is less than or equal to 7, which means we want numbers less than or equal to 7. So we'll point to the left. Let's go ahead and just check that quickly. Let's try 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 7? Yes. So that means that yes, it is included here. All the numbers to the left of 7. And just check one more. Let's choose 10. Is 10 less than or equal to 7? No, it is not. False. So as we graphed, we chose correctly. The 10 is not included in the solution on the graph. Okay? So let's go ahead and work on solving inequalities now. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at how we solve inequalities, whether by adding or subtracting here. So I know Daniel is just dying to get to these, so we'll go ahead and get started. So we have an inequality here. 7 is less than x plus 8. I wanted to change this up for you and just put the variable on the right-hand side. I know that I've told you that I like putting it on the left, and when I use word problems, that's how I do it. But you need to be able to handle the problems whether the variable is on the left or the right-hand side. So we're going to go ahead and do this where we have the variable on the right. So what's the first thing that we need to do? We look at this and we need to get x by itself. So let's subtract 8. Okay, let's eliminate the 8 on the right hand side. So we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. Notice, remember, this is so much like chapter 3 with equalities and solving equations. So when we're solving them, we can, at least when we add and subtract, we can almost ignore the inequality. So let's go ahead and do that. Obviously 8 minus 8 is 0. We bring down our x. We've got our less than sign. And 7 minus 8 is negative 1. So now we've solved our inequality. X is greater than or equal, or x is greater than negative 1. So let's go ahead and graph it. I'm going to go a little faster here. We have our number line. Draw our negative 1. Is it open circle or closed circle? Open circle. Hopefully you said open circle and you're working these problems with me. I know, right? So we have our open circle at negative 1. And let's go ahead and read this again. Negative 1 is less than x, or x is greater than negative 1. So we want numbers greater than negative 1. So we're going to point to the right. Let's go ahead and just check to see if we pointed to the right direction. Let's choose 0. Okay, check our number. So is negative 1 less than 0? And yes, it is. That is true. So it means that we have chosen the direction of our graph correctly. Okay, we want the open circle at negative 1 pointed to the right. So let's go ahead and we'll do an addition here. Alright, so Nick is ready to go here with this one. X minus 5 is greater than or equal to negative 8. So Nick, what do we do first? Hopefully you're saying add 5 to both sides. So let's go ahead and do that. Plus 5. We'll do that on both sides. We'll bring down our x. We bring down our inequality of greater than or equal. What is negative 5? Or, I'm sorry, negative 8 plus 5. Remember, the signs are different. So we subtract the numbers. 8 minus 5 is 3. And we keep the sign of the larger absolute value, of course. Larger number, which is 8. So we'll keep the sign of that. It's negative 3. So we have x is greater than or equal to negative 3. So let's go ahead and graph that. We've got our number line. I'm going to go a little faster here, guys. We're at negative 3. Open circle or closed circle? Gianna says closed circle. Very good, Gianna. Now we read our inequality. X is greater than or equal to 3. So we want numbers larger than or equal to negative 3. So we're going to point to the right. Let's go ahead and choose 0 again. Notice I love to choose 0 because it's easy to handle. Is 0 greater than or equal to negative 3? True. So yes, we are pointed the right direction here with our graph. and we have solved it. Now let's move on to the multiplication and division, which of course has our little wrinkle, which we're always pleased to have. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at one where we're going to use division. So we have 49 is greater than or equal to 7x. Now, just like equalities, we need to isolate x, so we are going to divide both sides by 7. So let's go ahead and do that. Divide by 7. I want you to do them just like this. Keep the problems vertical. Don't be having all kinds of work over here on the sides, and it becomes very difficult and very confusing, both for me as a grader and for you when you're trying to solve the problems. I want you to keep the thoughts organized. I want you to be working down vertically. Okay? So again, 49 divided by 7 is 7. We keep the direction of our inequality. Why? Because we divided by a positive number. Okay, positive 7. The next one will divide by a negative. And we have x is less than or equal to 7, or 7 is greater than or equal to 7x. Let's go ahead and graph it. We have our number line. We mark our 7. We've got a closed circle because it's greater than or equal to. And we want numbers less than, we want x less than 7. So we are going to point to the left. Let's go ahead and, I sound like a broken record here, but I'm going to use 7. Is 7 greater than or equal to 0? Yes, of course it is true. And we are done. Okay? So make sure again that you're working these problems here with me. Let's go ahead and do a negative, and we'll see how we flip the inequality. All right, so now I know that Joseph was wondering when we were going to have something that was a little more difficult. So Joseph, here we go. And I want you to think about this as we're working on the problem. So I have negative 2x is greater than 6. And of course, hopefully everyone remembers, hey, we've got the negative here. So that means that we're going to be doing something different. And yes, of course we are. The first thing we want to do, divide both sides by negative 2. Okay? Gives us x. 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. But what do we do with our inequality? We have to flip it because we divided by a negative. So we have to change the direction of our inequality. So let's go ahead and do that. We've got x is less than negative 3. And again, I just can't emphasize enough. Make sure you see that we flip the inequality because we divided by a negative. Okay? We're going to go ahead and I'll just do the graph quickly. We've got negative 3, an open circle, and we're going to the left because we want numbers less than negative 3. So now we've taken care of our inequality. Let's go ahead and do multiplication with the fractions because I know that everyone has a little more trouble with that. So we'll do 1 or 2 problems with fractions. Okay, let's go ahead and do a problem with fractions here. We have the problem x over 2 is less than 9. And I want to make sure that everyone realizes that we could also write this problem like this. 1/2 x less than 9. Either way is okay. So you have to be prepared when we're working problems through that you could see it in either format. These are equivalent. X over 2, x divided by 2, or 1/2 times x. These are the same format. Okay? We're going to handle them in the same way. So what do we want to do to take care of this? Hopefully Emily is looking at this and she says, we'll multiply both sides by 2. So let's go ahead and do that. Times 2 times 2. The 2's cancel, remember, and we get x, and we get 18. Do we do anything with the inequality right here? Do we flip it? Do we keep it the same? Hopefully you're saying keep it the same. And why? Because we multiplied by a positive. We did not multiply by a negative. So we have to make sure that we keep it the same. And we're going to graph this. And we've got 18. We have an open circle. And we want numbers less than 18, so we're going to the left. All right. Let's go ahead and do another problem here. Just quick check. What if we had 1/2 x is less than -5? Okay. We're going to multiply both sides by 2. And our 2's cancel here. And we've got x, and we've got -10. Do we flip the inequality here? That's the question. We have a negative, but we didn't multiply by the negative. We multiplied by the positive number. So we do not, again, we do not change the inequality. Okay? It stays pointing the same direction. This is the one kind of problem that will trip up students that I saw from last year. So I want to make sure that you're understanding that and that you get that, okay? Finally, then we graph that, and we have x is less than -10, and hopefully we got this, -10, open circle pointed to the left. All right, last problem here, so that we'll be working through. What I'd really like you to do right now is to go ahead and just pause the video, and I want you to work this problem out. And you work it out first, and then I'll work it. Then go ahead and after you do that, restart the video, and then follow along with me as I do this and see how both your work and what your problem looks like compares to the answer. Okay, so go ahead and just pause the video right now, and I want you to work through the problem. So you did that, right? Yeah, I know you did. Okay, let's go ahead and work this through. So hopefully you see that we have a 3 in the denominator. When we have a number in the denominator, we want to clear the denominator. And when I say clear the denominator, we want to multiply both sides by whatever is in the denominator. Since we have a negative, we want to consider the denominator -3 because we want x, a positive x by itself. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's multiply both sides by, and I'm going to do -3/1 on this side just so you can see how the fractions cancel each other out. Okay, here we've got the -3, here we've got a -3, and it works out as 1 and 1. Okay, so we've got x on the right hand side. We're going to multiply the left hand side by -3. So -3 times 4 is -12. And again, what do we do? Do we do anything with the inequality? Yes. Why? Because we multiplied by a -3. So since we multiplied by a -3, we are going to flip the inequality. So it goes from less than or equal to greater than or equal to. And we have x is less than or equal to -12, or you can read this as -12 is greater than or equal to x. Either way is fine. Let's go ahead and graph it. Let's mark our -12. Is open circle or closed circle? Hopefully you said closed circle here. Okay, and we want numbers that are less than. We want x to be less than -12. So what does that mean? It means we're pointed to the left. Okay? So that's the last one. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. I will have the quiz. I also sent you the answer sheet for the concept worksheet, so make sure that you do that. Take a look at what you've done. If you've missed problems, redo those problems. Okay? This chapter is a review and a lot of the same kind of things that we did in Chapter 3. So we should do better on this quiz than we did in Chapter 3. Okay? So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.